This is my 2015 Mercedes G550. I'm going to do a build, tour, and walk around. Now, this vehicle, which most people don't realize, remained virtually unchanged from 1979 when it was developed at the request of the Shah of Iran, which went to Mercedes and said, hey, make us a military vehicle. So factory, they came triple locked and ready to tackle pretty much anything in the harshest military environments. They later were introduced to the US and they somehow became a status symbol for like rappers and housewives. But what they're really designed for is doing really fun stuff outdoors. The aftermarket isn't huge, so I'm going to walk you through what this vehicle looks like and how it all began. So let's start off at the front of our build. We have on this vehicle high-level details, by the way. It's a 4-inch lift, 35s, front and rear bumpers, and the works. So what we have on here is the AFN steel bumper, integrated fog lights, LEDs, integrated super winch, 12K winch, Baja Designs lights, and we are wired for onboard air with an ARB compressor mounted under the frame, both front and rear. The thing's got a mean stance and an ORC skid plate up front on the engine skid. Moving on to the side of the vehicle, what we have here, and again, there's not a tremendously large aftermarket for these things, but we've got Alpha wheels, which I love. I got a set of Alpha wheels on our other G, which is a 2018 with a 2-inch lift and 33s. We have the ORC sliders. Those are aluminum, which I wish they did more aluminum because these vehicles are pretty chunky and pretty heavy. And we are wrapped right now in 35 by 1250 Falken Wildpeak MTs. I started off with the AT4Ws due to the internet saying that they're amazing. And in the 35s, they only come in an F-load range. I just didn't feel like they wrapped around rocks, even aired down super low. And to me, they were a little underwhelming in the snow. Falken was awesome. They warrantied them and said, hey, as long as you stick with a Falken tire product, which I did. And I went with the MTs, and I love them. This is my third wheeling trip with them so far. And they have been done surprisingly well in the snow. Moving out of the rear of the vehicle, we have an AFN steel bumper with a swing-out tire carrier. That tire carrier puts all the weight on the bumper as opposed to putting the weight on the spare. And I will tell you, I was in Moab running Poison Spider and super steep climb, and I had to bail and back up because my front end started hopping. And I came down and hit my spare tire carrier, and this whole thing bent. But if I didn't have this and I had the factory reverse mount on the tailgate, I would have destroyed it. So anyway, highly recommend. Factory skid plates, they did need to get re-welded in cut so you can see where the factory hitch was. And let's see, there's our onboard air connection in back. And the one thing I will say on this AFN bumper is to put a pin here. What's interesting is looking on the bottom side, it's a like very unique spacing, and it was really hard for me to find a receiver and recovery point. So last thing that's noteworthy on this vehicle is the exhaust. So normally G-Wagon exhausts from the factory, they side pipe right out here, but they hang really low. The other thing that's interesting, and this is aftermarket exhaust, is the MBRP, which is tucked up. So I'll just kind of show you. Under, there's the exhaust system, and it is tucked up really nice and out of the way. Do you see how the rail right here hangs, oops, there we go, hangs beneath it? So the factory mufflers hang too low, and then the tips hang even lower. So you can get hung up on them pretty bad, which I did when I went out wheeling for the first time. So this tucked up exhaust sounds fantastic. I'll do a startup for you in a second. And then the last thing on here is our ORC transfer case skid. Kind of hard to see. In order to fit 35s, you'll notice where were those. We have new control arms. We've got new drive shaft, front and rear Cardan style drive shaft, double Cardan style drive shaft. It does require a cross member drop for the transmission mount. So the words, Adam. So the drive line has a place to clear. And anyway, so there's the new control arms with the new bushings, and there's that cross member right there. So it does take quite a bit of work. It also requires a sway bar relocation, so sway bar brackets, which are dropped down right here. And I do hang up on those a little bit on the rocks. And on the rear, again, Panhard bars, front and rear. And those Panhard bars, by the way, and the Panhard bars and the control arms are Eurowise. Springs on this are Jackwagon overlanding, which I love. I've got that set on our other G. And then I'm running the Koni Raid shocks. I did think about doing a different shock setup, but I really like the ride quality on the Konis. And so far, I've been pleasantly surprised. So let's do a quick startup for you so you can hear this exhaust, because this engine, by the way, if you're ever going to build one, 2015 was the last year of the 5.5 liter naturally aspirated V8. After that, in 2016, they went to a 4 liter bi-turbo. So if you do want to do an aftermarket bumper, the bi-turbo coolers are here. So they're really difficult. I don't know if anyone has successfully done it yet, relocated them. So if you want to build one up and you want more modern, 2013, 2015 is kind of that sweet spot for getting all the modern things. The last thing I did on this, which I would not necessarily recommend, is an updated infotainment system that runs on Android Auto and all that jazz. Get in here and we're going to start this up. But it was kind of a pain and there's still a few little bugs. So wouldn't recommend it. Let's give it a startup. I'm going to set you down right by the exhaust. So mean. It sounds great. Anyway, enjoy. I love this rig. It's a total dream come true.